She finally came out of the closet. She is running.
You run for president?
I would. I would if I believed that that is the right thing to do for our country and for the Palin family. Certainly, I would do so.
I even have an idea who her running mate would be. But first, let's quickly talk about an issue that seems to get hotter by the day. I'm talking about the underpants bomber, Mutallab, also known as the Christmas bomber. There's more to the story than meets the eye. Much more. Just one little tidbit. While the Republicans are all over the CIA for ignoring the father's warning about his son, it turns out that the CIA, according to the Detroit News, actually insisted that the son's visa would not be revoked. The argument was that a revocation would interfere with a much larger investigation. Of course, as you can imagine, this is a vastly underreported story. Next, some analysts doubt that the combination of so-called explosives and the amount would not have destroyed the plane, especially with this guy sitting on them. Interesting point. Indeed, when Mutallab injected the liquid that was supposed to ignite the explosive, there was no explosion. Some fire, some smoke, but no explosion, which gave Jasper Schuringa, the Dutchman sitting next to him, time to tackle Mutallab. I'm sorry, but the longer I look into this, the more fishy the entire story gets. Follow me for 15 seconds and let me give you a lecture on physics and chemistry. I will keep this in layman terms. A chemical reaction becomes violent when the explosion takes place in a closed container. Let's take the bullet as an example. The igniter here has the number 5 at the bottom. When the igniter is activated, it triggers the explosion of the gunpowder and voila, off goes the bullet. The same events happen inside a grenade. The explosion takes place in a closed environment until the pressure is so great that the casing breaks and its parts fly into space. In the case of the underpants bomber, 2 liquids were used. For security reasons, I will call them A and B. If combined, the chemical reaction is violent. The mixture explodes. The strength of the explosion depends on the degree of presence of each component. Now, follow me for a moment. It is claimed that Mutallab used a syringe to inject part B into part A of the liquid. To avoid detection during pat-down at the security checkpoint, part A was contained in a plastic bag between his legs. Remember now, the explosion occurs when part B combines with part A. In other words, the moment Mutallab began injecting even the tiniest amount of part B into part A, the explosion started. But because only a small part of part B had combined with part A, the plastic bag broke and part A was thrown all over without participating in the explosion. Get it? Part B had not combined with all of part A, which is why only a small amount met the condition required to make it explosive. Are you telling me that the al-Qaeda idiots in Yemen did not know that? Or are you telling me that this whole story is a hoax and made up to show that Obama is vulnerable to terrorists? Who would benefit from it? The conspiracy theorists have several stories, including a $5 billion plot in Yemen. I don't know enough to make a statement on that. Here is what I have so far. Mutallab's father, Dr. Umaru Abdul Mutallab, is the chairman and co-founder of an Islamic bank, Qais Bank International plc. Not sure I pronounced this correctly. The bank was newly formed and was supposed to get started first in 2009, then in 2010. As an Islamic bank, they planned not to pay any interest on deposits. Not sure this went over too well. I went to the website. As it turned out, the domain expired on February 6, 2010 and was not renewed as of February 9. Others claim that the publication of the alleged involvement of al-Qaeda sympathizers in Yemen was only a pretext for an attack on suspected targets in Yemen. Strange is that the chairman of the Islam Bank went to the consulate and the CIA and allegedly warned them about his son having turned extremist. Wouldn't you say that Muslims could be expected to avoid dealing with a bank whose chairman warns a Western nation about his son turning extremist? Now, who gains from the bomber myth here in the US? Well, the Republican fiddlers immediately used the incident as an excuse to attack the DOJ. He should have been interrogated in Guantanamo.
We need to proceed to interrogate them, which you couldn't do, obviously, with a Christmas bomber. I mean, Larry King would have a more thorough interrogation of one of his witnesses than the Christmas bomber had by the Justice Department.
Barely mentioned that the FBI flew his father to Detroit to talk to the bomber and keep him talking. Of course, Sarah Palin chimed right in.
We need a commander-in-chief, not a professor of law standing at the lectern.
I am beginning to ask myself, was the entire story concocted by Cheney stay-behinds in the CIA to embarrass Obama? Think about it. In the meantime, Palin became the target of the news media and the comedians when she was caught using her hand as a memory pad. Right after she commented on Obama's teleprompter use.
Night as a charismatic guy with a teleprompter.
But let's get back to the issue at hand. Palin's coming out of the closet. I have information from a usually reliable source, my cat, who a running mate will be. And no, it's not McCain nor Mitch McConnell. I could tell you who my source is, but then I would have to kill you. Yep, you get it. Dick Cheney. Good old Dick. Oh, look, Ma, the hand. Wait, what did she write? 2012, will you be mine? Believe me, I'm all excited. Finally, we have a man back in the running who really hates terrorists, who gets us back into the torture business, and who pisses the Dems off to no end. Well, and maybe, just maybe, some Republicans too. Hopefully just enough to get my drift. Well, George W. would be all excited, as would be Mitch McConnell. Look, Ma, no hands. Before I go, let me make something clear. I have nothing against the FBI, other than that they cover up massive bribery schemes involving elected officials. And please, I do have 2 witnesses and documents proving it. As to interrogating terrorists, they do that without torture. They do an excellent job and are highly successful. As to the CIA, I myself worked on a project for the CIA. I designed a sub-miniature transmitter using spectral manipulation and gave it to them without charging the government 1 single cent. I think I showed my loyalty to this country. The people I met then, back in the early 70s, were honorable guys straight to the bones. I'm not sure what happened during the Cheney years. Well, I'll see you. Have a happy Valentine's Day.